a good life to the very end. We all aspire for quality of life. This is especially true for the hundreds of thousands of Canadians whose last residence will be long-term care. However, research about quality of life in the latter stages of life and the end of life is lacking. Recognizing this gap as an opportunity, an expert group of decision makers and researchers came together and formed SALTI.
SALTI stands for Seniors Adding Life to Years, and this is a research project that's about improving the quality of life for residents who live in long-term care facilities all across Canada. As a society, we need to value people at all stages of their lives. Unfortunately, for residents living in long-term care, our society tends to place less value on their quality of life. What we're trying to do as a research team is to understand the factors and conditions that would contribute to a better quality of life for residents.
Under the direction of Dr. Keefe, project leads and lead researchers in 4 provinces are tackling the issues of quality of life during late life in long-term care, such as burdensome symptoms and care practices, the influence of promising social and clinical approaches to care on care relationships, the integration of palliative care approaches in long-term care settings, and how long-term care policies support or inhibit promising approaches to care.
The integration of our research approaches will create usable results to improve long-term care in Canada. So often in research, we remain in our silos using our own particular methodology. What we're trying to do with the resident in mind is to use different methodologies, different perspectives, to be able to have a greater understanding and greater synergy of our research results.
SALTI provides a unique trainee network for future scholars to develop their research capacity about long-term care with their peers. 3 of our trainees are co-leads of our project with their own research programs.
It was just really great to be able to have the opportunity to participate in the trainee network. My involvement with SALTI has provided a number of opportunities that have played a formative role in my career trajectory. I just feel so grateful for this, for everything I've been able to participate in and learn from, and all of the connections that I've made through this work, which have really helped to put me in a position where I can kind of continue to grow my own research program on older adults that are living with dementia.
Our team includes an advisory group whose members represent residents living in long-term care, volunteers, family and paid caregivers. The group is important to SALTI because their voices ensure our research about quality of life in long-term care is user-informed.
In previous research, we've involved clinicians, knowledge users, and professional staff in our research with great success. In SALTI, we wanted to push the boundary even further and include the voices of people who are often underrepresented. These include, of course, the resident themselves, persons living with a diagnosis of dementia, personal care workers or care aides as they're sometimes called, volunteers in the facility, as well as family caregivers of the resident.
I've been involved with SALTI since its inception. My husband developed dementia when he was 60. The last 5 years of his life, he was in long-term care. And that's when I became quite an expert on long-term care.
It's been quite eye-opening to be a part of this. The first few years I didn't really quite know my role. I was a little bit hesitant to find my voice, and over time I became more confident and that I knew the field and I did have something to share. My whole time as being a care aide, I've had so many of these conversations, but not with the right people. And now finally I'm in a place where these conversations actually matter. for the policymakers and everyone else, there's a lot to learn from the people in the front line.
To address the challenges of research findings influencing actual change within the long-term care system, and to move research knowledge into action, the SALTI project engaged long-term care policymakers and decision makers in the research process from the project's inception.
Very long time I have been a very large proponent of getting research that's relevant to what I need. And as a knowledge user, too often I'm confronted with getting results of something that I haven't got the foggiest clue what to do with and have no good sense of how to use them to best advantage. And many of the things that are coming forward are actually making us rethink what we need to do around symptom management, for example, towards end of life. I have an opportunity to assist with the formulation of where it's going so that it ends up being useful for me. Most important piece has been rubbing shoulders with and having the opportunity to sit down and engage in conversation with people who are actively in the field and doing research.
Long-term care here in Nova Scotia, where I work, is a priority of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and we are really looking forward to really fully understanding more than we know now about what is the nature of quality in long-term care, what does that mean for residents, how do we describe it, and how do we measure it.
The cumulative results from our SALTI project will provide a solid foundation on which to support change to the Canadian long-term care system. Going forward, we hope that our results will be used to improve the quality of life of all residents.